What's that?
Our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage from New Orleans is brought to you in part by Flight by Yuengling, Circa Las Vegas, Smokey Mo's Barbecue, Synergenx Testosterone and Weight Loss, and Southern Recipe Pork Rinds on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back to the Blitz here on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. He is Joe Reinagle. I'm Jason Minix. Our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage continues. Brought to you in part by Synergenx Testosterone and Weight Loss. And let's talk about it with one of their low T legends, Chris Myers from Fox, joining us now. When you think about everything you're doing, the Super Bowl this year on Fox. So imagine it's been a busy week for you here in New Orleans.
Yeah, and you want to keep your T levels up, your energy up. And obviously, if you're interested in weight loss, Synergenx.com, lowtcenter.com, they'll help you get tested. You can go through your health provider to see if you need to increase, decrease, but highly recommended. There's some copies out there of people doing this, but they've been at this for a long time, and they also customize and personalize it. And I think that's really important, especially in today's day and age. One size does not fit all, so check it out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a good thing. Glad that you're here. Glad that you're talking about that as well. Chris, I've got to ask you, we'll start with the Super Bowl because it is on Fox this year, but it is Kansas City again, Philadelphia. Kansas City's getting so much, I don't know, for lack of a better word, hate when it comes to they think the officials are in their pockets and all that. What is your take on all of that?
Well, I think the officiating is part of it because our eyes are not deceiving it. Of course, it's not rigged, but it just seems like when you're watching as a fan or you're calling a game that when there's a 50-50 call or a flag, it's going their way. Part of that is how well coached they are, and I've seen this with New England and Patriots in their dynasty run that they force other teams by doing things out of their comfort zone, so they commit mistakes one way or the other. I think the other part of it's legitimate. I mean, it's a thing. We build teams up, and they hadn't won in a while. Then they win one, and then they're there again, and now there's a dynasty. Plus, they're interfaced with commercials, and you've got the Taylor Swift Kelsey effect, right? And when Andy Reid is trying comedy in a commercial, we know that's a lot. So some people just like enough of that already. And if it's not their team, if you're a Chief fan, you're loving it. But it's like why can't somebody else win? Why not a Buffalo? Detroit, somebody's never been there. Why not my team? Or can somebody, then we kind of root for the underdog. In this case, it's a little unique. The Eagles are not necessarily, they were there a couple of years ago. They're not necessarily an underdog. And for some reason, I think they get a little dislike. Maybe it's the reputation of Philly.
Well, yeah, that's it. This is cowboy country you're talking to right now.
You guys hate those more, even if they don't win. So I get that. So it's kind of an interesting. However, I really can appreciate having called games for cover the Chiefs and another Super Bowl and the Eagle games this year. I mean, these are really good teams. I mean, and they've really earned it here. They had to beat some very good players and teams to get here. And so, yeah, the Chief, I'll just call it, burnout or whatever, but let's appreciate, history. I remember I had to cover that Patriots sideline when they were going for the perfect Super Bowl win against the Giants. And there was something special about the history. It didn't happen, and Bill Belichick was difficult after. But here we have it, not surprising. We have a chance to see that. So whatever you're rooting for, Barkley is a good guy. Barkley brings a good guy approach to the Eagles, even though we know that as Cowboy fans, you guys root against him. So I think it'll be another close game, and that usually says Kansas City finds a way to win, right? and then we'll be and they're Mahomes is young enough, and Reid's not going. They could be back in there next year. I mean, my goodness,
it is crazy. I saw a deal. I just pulled it up. 80% of the country is rooting for the Eagles.
Right.
And I thought, no.
That's what he was just talking about, Chief dislike.
See, I don't think they're rooting for the Eagles. They're rooting against Kansas City.
There you go.
Right?
That's right.
But but in there, it's funny. In Texas, it's going for the Chiefs, and that's because of Philly hate. We hate the Eagles more than we have Chiefs fatigue.
Understandable. But if you sit, again, Jalen Hurts is a guarded guy. Sirianni, you sit and talk to him, likable. But his antics on the sideline, he's even addressed this. Sometimes he's like a fan or a player. He's like a little over the top. And so it's kind of annoying if you're, if they're having success and he's, celebrating early or whatever he's doing. But the Eagle defense has gotten better. I called some of their games after the bye week, and obviously Barkley is the difference maker. They have the talent, I think we'd agree, advantage, right? Trenches and personnel, except in two spots, the most important, which are head coach and quarterback, and that's where Mahomes and Reid, I think, will still be the difference unless the Eagles control the game. And I think Hurts has to run if they try to bottle up Barkley, not go crazy throwing because he'll make mistakes, or at least there's the opportunity to make some more mistakes that the Kansas City's defense thrives on.
Chris, you have been, you've been doing this a long time, and you've covered a lot of Super Bowls. Is there one or two memories that you have that kind of stand out that you go back and remember?
Yeah, the one I had the Patriots sideline when they were played Atlanta in Houston, and they were down 28-3. And again, having we talked to the coach at halftime. At this point we weren't on camera. We just get notes. But Belichick was not. He was like running away from me, and he's required to. So I'm running with him, saying, "Hey, what can you do to turn the thing around?" And obviously, but they did it. And on that sideline, watching mostly Brady, but some other guys, it was just an amazing sense. I'm thinking like, boy, I'm going to have to interview the losing, coach and da-da-da. And all of a sudden I see him do this, and I see Brady and Brady yelling at a few guys, but mostly calm to say, hey, we got to do this. If we do this, they're going to react and we'll be able to take advantage. And it's just what I was saying about Kansas City. The Patriots did that, and that comeback was part of a lot New England, but it was also Atlanta falling into. It's not choking. It's just that, we got Brady and the Patriots. And I think teams do that with Kansas City too. Here comes, if it's close, Mahomes, there's still time left. So they panic in a way or do the wrong kinds of things that are out of character for them. But that moment, getting to Brady after, that was the first overtime Super Bowl. And they had let the international media, you guys have been there, they let him down on the field early where normally they wait before the stage. And so they poured out onto the field. I got trampled. My producer got knocked over. The cameraman, he lost the camera. And they had to go with the overhead camera. And the producer's yelling in my ear like, we want to get Brady live. I'm like, I'm swimming upstream like salmon here, fighting, and I get to him, and you can see at the top of my head. And Brady, then I get to him, and the producer's like, can we do it? I was like, well, I said, Tom, can we do it? And he was exhausted. He's like, can I have a few minutes? I'm like, we don't really have. And then they said,
you can't.
They said, they said, Chris, we're going. I said, we're live with Tom Brady. And then, of course, he was gracious enough to at least respond. And that was after Deflategate, and there were some other factors, along with a great game. So he had whatever his answers were, but the raw emotion, before they do all the presentation stuff, you like to see that. So that was one that kind of stood out as a special Super Bowl moment. There have been a few other ones. The Packers winning in Dallas when they beat the Steelers. It was funny. I'd interview the losing coach Mike Tomlin after before we went on. I was like, I know it was a tough loss. Thanks for doing this. And he was like, do I have a choice? I'm like, oh, okay. I know this. They're sensitive to lose a game like this. But anyway, there's been quite a few that and as I mentioned, the Chief 49er win in Miami, the first time Andy Reid and Mahomes won together. And that was, I got to Reid, and then his wife came, and that turned into a party. I was trying to interview him, but his wife came in, and Mahomes came running over, but it was still a cool moment because you were getting their raw emotion. And it was the first time the three of them had been together since the game ended, or since they won. So those are cool things when you're down in the middle of it all, and you see a game differently on the field. Having been a silent reporter, then go up to the booth to call it. I think there's some benefits to that.
Chris Meyer is joining us here on the Blitz, Emmy Award-winning sports broadcaster with Fox. And you tell the Tom Brady story. You worked with Tom a lot while he was playing. Now he's a teammate with you at Fox. How is Tom Brady different?
Yeah, he's not that different in that his knowledge of the game. And even when I sat in production meetings, with Aikman and him or something before a Super Bowl, it was amazing how he, first of all, he would pick Aikman's brain about certain things to do better, which was kind of cool. And now he's on the other side of it, which is why I think players want to talk to him. But he knew he would not only say number 11 on defense, he knew the guy's position, how many years in the league. I mean, it was like a bio hit, like more than a broadcast crew would even know. He was that specific, and you could tell his study and preparation was there. And I thought he knew really developed. He would talk about sliding in the pocket because he always joke about not being a great runner, but getting that extra time. Also, the getting rid of the ball so that he, the next. I believe in what we do. The next down, we're gonna get there. So he was great in those production meetings. In this, he still has that same passion for the game. I think you can hear it in his voice. And he's starting, I think, as you go through the season, including that last game, he was not hesitant about, hey, Jalen Hurts, I'd like to see him really rip it downfield here when it's open instead of dumping it off here. Or he had a cool line about going towards, we don't have timeouts, trying to get a field goal before the half. He said, I always thought of it as a simple thing I'd never heard before, where he said, hey, I always thought of each second represents a yard. And that's how we have to think about time on the clock versus yardage needed to get in field goal range. So things like that come out. But his preparation is just like he was a player, and obviously inserting. He sees so much. He just has to insert what he thinks is important to the audience at the right time, and I think he's been doing that.
Well, Chris, I mean, you're a pro, and you know these guys that come in, these former athletes who they try to make analysts. Some work, some don't. I think of our good friend Jason Witten, and it didn't work too well. But you got a Tom Brady, a Tony Romo, a Troy Aikman. Those guys have really brought a passion and an insight to the game that a lot of us haven't heard before from analysts like that.
Yeah, and we know that they know the game well and their experiences, especially in the more. That's why Brady, when he says something, another analyst could say it, and not that it's not. But Brady, Super Bowl, he's been there, and quarterbacks, the overview they usually have because they've studied the whole field anyway. But I think you make a good point about why somewhere. Jason Woods, a great guy, was a terrific player. I think you have to just be comfortable on the air and in front of microphones, and quarterbacks get interviewed a lot, right? So they're used to that. So even if they're shy in the beginning, they kind of develop that skill. And some people, and I interviewed athletes like that, going back to Barry Bonds, who loved what he did. He just wished that he didn't have to do interviews and deal with the audience, but he loved baseball. So I think, guys, if you're that's hard to change and turn into, a louder voice and an impact of having opinions on things, which is what people want as broadcasters.
Chris Myers, Fox Television. I know you got a busy week. And, of course, the Super Bowl on Sunday on Fox. We'll see you on our TVs. Appreciate you stopping by with us in San Antonio.
All right. Great talking to you guys. Appreciate it always. Enjoy the game.
We will.